In this demonstration, we're going to look at using the Group Policy Management console. We'll create a group policy and then we'll apply the group policy. A group policy allows me to apply settings to multiple devices or multiple users from a centralized location. So I've logged onto my Active Directory domain controller, and on my Active Directory domain controller, what we're going to do is we're just going to come into Server Manager. Then in Server Manager, we'll come to our tools, and within our tools, we're going to come to our Group Policy Management. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply the group policy at the domain level. So if I come to adatum.com, if I right click, and what we'll do is we'll create a group policy object in this domain and we'll actually link it here. Then it asks us to give it a name. So what we're going to do at this point here is we're just going to call this preferences. Once we've called preferences, we'll select OK, and that now creates my group policy. So if I come to my group policy, we'll select OK, and what we have at the top here, we've got scope, so we can see this group policy will apply to adatum.com. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to come into the group policy, so we'll right click on the group policy. We can see it is enabled, so now what we'll do is we'll now edit that group policy and we'll allow the group policy to apply some settings. So we have two different types of group policy. We have a group policy itself, and the group policy itself allows us to apply mandatory settings to users. Another set of settings is group policy preferences, and group policy preferences are settings that we push out to devices, but users can modify the preferences. So we've got mandatory policies and we've got preferences as well. Mandatory policies users cannot modify, preferences users can potentially modify. And we can do that against the computer, so that will affect anybody that logs into the computer, or we can do that against a user. And at this point here, anybody that logs onto the device, because we've applied the policy at the domain level, will get whatever the group policy is or whatever the preference is. So I'm going to use a preference, so we'll expand up our preferences. Then within our preferences, what we're going to do is we're just going to come down to our Windows settings. And in our Windows settings, we're looking for shortcuts. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a shortcut onto users' desktops. So what we need to do is we just need to decide exactly how we're going to manage this. So we'll just maximize this up just to make it a little bit easier to read. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new shortcut. So we'll just right click, we'll go for new, and we'll create a new shortcut. It brings us into a wizard. So what we're going to do in the case of the action is we are going to create. What we're going to create is we're going to create a shortcut for Notepad. Then what we need to do in the case of target type, just make sure we have file system object highlighted, and then what we'll do is we'll just specify what this shortcut will contain. So, and this is going to be at this point here in the case of the location, so we're going to put that on the desktop, and then in the target path we'll specify the target path for the application. And what we're specifying is C:\Windows /system32 /notepad.exe. We'll select OK. Now we've done that, we can see we're going to create this. We'll just close down our group policy editor. We don't need this anymore, and we'll just get rid of the group policy management console. So now what we'll do is we'll just switch over to lon-cl1. And on lon-cl1, what we're going to do is we're just going to come into PowerShell. And all I'm going to do within PowerShell is if we just make the font a bit easier to read. I'll select OK. What we'll do at this point here is we'll do a GP update, and then we'll do a /force. What that's now doing is that's now applying the policy. So we'll just wait for this to run through. And what we should find is after the policy is updated, we should see notepad.exe appear. So it's working through. If we just minimize that down. So there's the shortcut now sitting on the desktop, and that's the end of this demonstration. Thank you.